Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the February 20th Board of Selectmen special meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, Madam Chairman. 3 selectmen are present. Selectman Donahue and Selectman Savage are absent, and we do have the town administrator present.
And we also have the Finance Committee and Johnson and Jeanette, and I will turn it over to Mr. McAuliffe to introduce our guest and to outline what we're going to be discussing tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had, as the board's aware, we had a very successful meeting. I guess it was about 6 weeks ago, if I recall. And Mr. Walsh, who I've worked with in the past, I was very happy to know coming to Wareham that Kevin was helping to manage the town's self-insured health insurance system, which is a fairly complex program in and of itself, and in light of what's happened nationally, it's become really the biggest budget buster that municipalities face year in and year out. And based on the success of that meeting, we thought it would be nice to have a follow-up meeting and even televise that so people could get a grasp of what it is that we deal with behind the scenes and how those numbers come together and how the programs work. And one of the biggest changes that the legislature has opened up is the so-called GIC, excuse me, which is the Group Insurance Commission, which is the state program, which they're offering up now as an available option for municipalities with, I guess I'd say cautiously, some strings attached and a little bit of some unknowns. But an issue that we need to look at seriously if there's going to be a cost savings component. And based upon that successful meeting, as I say, we thought we'd follow up, and we have a good showing from the FinCom. I know they kind of double booked, I think, which we all do this time of year. I've done that twice this month, so I think they're going to stay with us for a bit. They sat in on the first meeting a few weeks ago, and I think they found it informative as well, and then they're going to go downstairs and continue to work on the budget process. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Kevin Walsh, who's the president of Group Benefit Strategies, which is an outside consulting firm that helps us manage not only the day-to-day decisions, they also keep Blue Cross Blue Shield and Harvard Pilgrim Health. He keeps that group somewhat in check, I guess to say it respectfully, through their own individual software program where they do claims checks, they check on costing mechanisms, they check on their actuarial premium calculation to make sure that they're in line with what we think we should be in line with based upon our actual experience with costs and claims. So all those things are part of what Kevin looks at and very respected in his field. So thank you for joining us again, Kevin. And
thank you for having me.
Turn it over to you.
Good evening, members of the board.
Good evening.
Members of the Finance Committee, excuse my back. As stated, I'm Kevin Walsh, I'm president of Group Benefit Strategies. We were hired back in 2002 by the town of Wareham to do a retrospective analysis, and my presentation will be past, present, and future, so we'll start with the past, to do a retrospective analysis of the town's participation in the Plymouth County Health Group. We did a detailed analysis, month by month, claims experience, paid premium by plan, and basically recommended that the town was overpaying the county based on its own claims experience. It was about a 5.5-year analysis once we had completed and updated it, and we had estimated that the town had paid probably over $4 million more than what its own claims experience warranted. Now, whenever you participate in a joint purchase group, you have to understand there are pros and cons. And we currently represent the Plymouth County Group as of a couple of months ago, so I'm not here to belittle any of my clients or any of the other collective other joint purchase groups out there, of which we manage about 7 or 8 of them. But clearly, in any given year, any given period, you're going to win or lose based on the group's claims experience, your own claims experience, etc. We worked with the collective bargaining units at that time and educated them on the pros and cons of remaining with Plymouth County versus disaffiliating and being on your own. The major change we dealt with at that time was the fact that Blue Cross would not allow groups, or as they described them, new groups, to purchase older indemnity plans, and the Master Health and Master Health Plus products were offered through Plymouth County at that time. But fortunately, through a series of efforts, we were able to convince the collective bargaining units, I believe, that the other product that Blue Cross offered, their Blue Care Elect PPO product, was not only comparable to, but maybe even better than the older Master Health and Master Health Plus products. The town was successful at that point, beginning in FY04, to move off of Plymouth County and begin purchasing its own health insurance programs directly from Blue Cross and Harvard Pilgrim. All of the other plans that were offered at the time, we made every effort to try to replicate the plan designs and the provider networks. We truly tried to make it a financial decision and not a negative decision to the members that were enrolled through the town. Since that time, I feel the program has worked fairly successfully, and we've presented prior reports to demonstrate that financially. It's almost a no-win situation because we've been dealing with double-digit rate increases on average now for 8 years, the first 4 to 5 of which we were dealing with averages of 15 to 20%. And if there's any good news, we're now dealing with claims trends at around 12%. So if your claims run exactly as projected, you'd expect about a 12% rate increase, which is still probably 3 or 4 times inflation, and all the other measurements that we read about every day in the newspaper about how challenging group health insurance is from a cost perspective. So when we talk about successes, we're really talking about some smaller steps against the larger problem, but the larger problem doesn't go away. Presently, just to put it in perspective, in fiscal 08, the town will expend about $5.5 million to fund its share of the group health insurance program for its employees, retirees, and members. The employees and retirees will kick in around $2 million. So we're $7.5 million projected expenses currently. As I stated a minute ago, although we haven't yet received the carrier renewals, but hope to receive them shortly so we can put a firmer number on the table, we would certainly be expecting claims trends at around 12%. And since claims are 90 to 95% of that total $7.5 million expenditure, with a gun to my head today, I would say that's where you should start with from a budgeting perspective. Although health insurance is challenging for every employer in today's marketplace, it's even more challenging for a Massachusetts municipality because there are 2 state laws that impact the town's ability to control its health insurance costs. The first is Mass General Law, Chapter 150E. 150E is the collective bargaining statute that makes it clear that health insurance is a mandatory subject to bargaining. So if you want to modify your group health insurance program, you must bargain with the collective bargaining units to effect that change. Although I'm a former town administrator, I listen to town administrators every day, and they're telling me COLAs are 1%, 2%, 3%, in some cases flat. So to try to negotiate changes in plan design, changes in employer, retiree contribution, or any other change that might help you control the costs, it's extremely challenging from the collective bargaining standpoint because the unions are looking at wage increases that don't even cover the offset of that cost shift for those types of changes. So it's extremely challenging. Further compound that situation, there's another statute called Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, which governs municipal health insurance programs as well. There are 19 sections of that statute, and in fact, when you look at the statute, even within a given section, there might be 3 to 5 or 6 different section or subsections of the section that all restrict your ability to control costs. So it's an extremely challenging marketplace. Many groups, however, have made some efforts in convincing the collective bargaining units to move off of, say, a $5 office visit copay or a $25 emergency room copay, or a 2-tier drug at $5 and $10, brand name, a generic and brand name, to at least slightly higher copays, maybe $15 or $10 for an office visit, $50 or $75 for an emergency room, and hopefully at least a 3-tier RX of $10, $20, $35 for retail. Some groups have looked at offering an inpatient deductible of $250, an outpatient deductible of $150, each capped at maybe 4 times per year. When you quantify the relative impact on the rates of those changes in those 4 plan designs, moving from what you have today to just 1 step up, you're probably looking at a ballpark impact on the rate of 5%. So if you're dealing with a 12% claims trend and you're successful, or maybe even extremely successful through collective bargaining, you might be able to back that 12 off to maybe a 5 or a 7% increase. So we're not talking about savings when we're talking about plan design alternatives. We're talking about trying to reduce the increase. There are very, very few situations in today's marketplace where we actually see rates either staying the same or going down. The norm is certainly going up. Good news is not quite as bad as it was 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. So that brings you from the past to the present. Probably the hottest topic in the municipal marketplace relative to group health insurance is a new state law that was signed into statute on July 27th by the governor,